Manchester United want Tyler Dibbling and starting to work on the deal. But the price tag is a bit of a joke. We've also got updates on Chris Rigg and a couple of players that United are looking at, Trincao, Lookman. And I'm going to say, first of all, we've been linked to about 50 players in the last 30 days. So we're not going to sign all of these 50 players, but we will break down the links, what's reliable, what's not reliable, what we know about the targets in general. And Tyler Dibbling is definitely a strong target, whereas the Lookman links aren't as strong, but I do like the idea of Lookman. We're going to talk about United's transfer plan. And the only worry I have with United's transfer plans, Garnacho has been called out. Some interesting comments on Garnacho attitude, behaviour, which I think was a little harsh, to be honest. So I'll get into that. We're going to talk about Ahmad's boost and a couple of news stories ahead of Manchester United versus Lyon. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. We're going to get into our first story on Tyler Dibbling. Manchester United were among the clubs in Bangor to watch Tyler Dibbling with England's under-19s against Wales. 14 Premier League clubs have inquired about him, Manchester United have inquired about Tyler Dibbling, and Jason Wilcox knows Dibbling from his time at Southampton. So this is the first bit of the Tyler Dibbling story that we know. Now, Jason Wilcox came from Southampton. Jason Wilcox very highly rates Tyler Dibbling. There's a couple of players that Jason Wilcox is reportedly big fans of, Tyler Dibbling being one. He likes Mecha because Mecha was actually at the Manchester City Academy. And with Dan Ashworth going, Jason Wilcox is the main man in terms of looking at Ruben Amorim's identity, what he wants to do, his system, and trying to find the recruitment for that, along with Christopher Vivel. But Christopher Vivel's doing more youth recruitment and more rogue leagues. But I've got to show you something, guys. I've got to show you something that's crazy. You see that? £100 million they are demanding for Tyler Dibbling. And these are credible sources of information. Southampton are ready to demand £100 million for Tyler Dibbling. Southampton won't, especially because they're going to be relegated. Southampton will not get more than £50 million for Dibbling. I think he's £40 million, and that's a deal. I don't see anyone paying more than £50 million for Tyler Dibbling, let alone 100. I don't see anyone paying 50. Tyler Dibbling is a great talent, but Tyler Dibbling right now is not better than Garnacho right now. Tyler Dibbling could be better than Garnacho in 5 years' time, but Tyler Dibbling, is a good player. I've seen him play some really good games for Southampton. He's exciting, but then he's had games where he's been frustrating and he hasn't been as good. And I think because we'll watch a few games of Tyler Dibbling and he'll be really good, everyone will be like, oh, he's amazing. Whereas we'll watch Garnacho have a few good games and then a few bad games, and everyone will be like, Garnacho is bad. But there's not much right now, and people get between Dibbling and Garnacho. And would you spend 100 million on Garnacho right now? No. Okay? That's the way I look at it. Tyler Dibbling is great. He's a great talent. He's got great potential. He's fantastic, but he's still so raw. And I think when we've got Garnacho, Yoro, Maino, Dorgu, Hoyland, all these young players, there's no point spending 100 million on another young player unless it's Lamine Yamal. Unless it's Lamine Yamal, there's no point spending this kind of money. Now, I think that this is a joke, and I think that Southampton would probably accept 50 million for Tyler Dibbling. I think they're just thinking, you know what, Chelsea are interested, United are interested, Tottenham are interested, Arsenal are interested. Let's see how much we can get. I think this is just a tactic from Southampton, but he won't go for half that. I'll tell you that now. Another young player, 17-year-old Chris Rigg. Manchester United have placed Chris Rigg near the top of their list of transfer targets for this summer, and they're working to secure his signing. So this is about the 150th player Ekram Konar has linked Manchester United with in the last couple of weeks. So take with that what you will. But we've also been linked to Chris Rigg by multiple sources. United have an interest in Chris Rigg. He is arguably the next Jude Bellingham from the Championship. He's 17 years of age. He's playing excellent for Sunderland. He's a top talent. Again, big fan of Chris Rigg. If you can get it for a good price, big fan of it. Big fan of that deal. But if you sign Chris Rigg, I'd still want us to sign a more experienced midfielder as well. Like, you know how we signed Joro and De Ligt? We've got a young one and an experienced one. With Chris Rigg, cool. With the young one is one for the future. But to replace Casemiro, I want someone that's like 22 to 27, who's a little bit more ready-made. Chris Rigg is fantastic. He's a fantastic talent, but he's so young. And this is my sort of only worry with the situation. So Tyler Dibbling is 19, Chris Rigg is 17, and they're unbelievable for their age. But we are 13th in the Premier League. Are we 12th now? That's still not good enough. we need some more ready-made players. Like, I'm happy to bring in a Chris Rigg or a Tyler Dibbling, but like if you're bringing in Tyler Dibbling and Buemo, cool. If you're bringing in Chris Rigg and a more experienced player like Angelo Stiller or Subamende, cool. But I think that they're great players, and I'm happy to go for a Job or a Chris Rigg. But as long as we do get 3 or 4 experienced players, like for me, a Slotterbeck, a Cunha, a Gyökeres, we could get those at least 3 players in just to lift the experience and the ready-madeness of the squad, then you could afford a Chris Rigg, then you could afford a Tyler Dibbling. But we need those more ready-made players. Now, I'm happy to sign them as project players. I'm happy to do that. But when Man City sign young players and project players, they've already got experienced players in that position that these project players can learn from. Julian Alvarez was a project player and he had Haaland to compete with, and he didn't get loads of minutes, and he's gone to Atletico Madrid and he's great. It's all good for bringing project players in, but we're at a problem where we'll bring an 18-year-old in and all of a sudden we're going to have to rely on them. And a lot of them are great, but we're Man United. We need more ready-made players, need more experienced players if we want to close that gap. So let's talk about Garnacho, because Paul Parker had some pretty brutal comments on Garnacho. He has let himself and his family down. He has let this club down because he's not taking advantage of the talent he was supposed to have. He is not playing like an adult, and he's certainly not acting like an adult. He has to have a good look in the mirror and tell himself he needs to stop thinking about being the next Ronaldo. He will never be that, so accept the fact that he needs to work hard to get a decent career. I think it's quite harsh on Garnacho, to be honest. There's things about Garnacho that frustrate me. There's definitely things about Garnacho that frustrate me. There has been issues in the past with him liking posts like he should play more, and why would the manager sub so and so off. He is a little bit selfish, but I feel like that is part of being a young player a lot of the time, the selfishness, the want to score. And I like that Garnacho really cares. I think he really cares. Sometimes too much, but I like that he wants to be the best he can be, and he's got that ambition, and he wants to be the next Ronaldo. Will he be the next Ronaldo? Probably not, but he can still be a very, very good player that can win very, very good trophies and play at a very good high level, because for 20 years of age, only Lamine Yamal has more goal contributions than Garnacho of anyone aged 21 or under this season, I believe. Or was it 20 and under? Or 20 and under, sorry. So I'd say he's let his family down, he's let the club down, I think is a little harsh. And I saw a lot of people agreeing with it, saying, oh, Paul Parker's hit the nail on the head. But Garnacho's 20, he's dropped off a little bit for a couple of months. Garnacho definitely needs to put his head down, work hard. But that's a life lesson. He's 20, he'll learn things. Amorim will learn things. If he's 24, 25 doing, this kind of stuff, it's a different thing. But I don't think he's let his family down, because, to be playing, regular football at 20 years of age is good. I don't think he's let United down. He's not been at his best this season, but there's more experienced players that have let us down. He's scored in the FA Cup final. He's worked really hard. I feel like people are being too harsh on Garnacho. Like, he's frustrating. There's things he does that I don't like. But I feel like going in on him saying he's let his family down, he's let his club down, blah, 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 blah. It's like, he needs to work hard. He needs to grow up, act more like an adult, stop liking silly things on social media. But the last 3 or 4 games, he's looked good. He's shown signs of improvement. Ruben Amorim is happy with him. Ruben Amorim saying he likes the progress in Garnacho. Since he's moved to the right, he's been better. If Garnacho improves his ability to create separation, if Garnacho improves his decision-making in the final third, and if Garnacho improves his finishing, there can be a very good player in Alejandro Garnacho, because he's got the raw attributes. And I love that Garnacho, when he gets the ball, he wants to take on players, wants to make something happen. He's got a bit of personality. And I personally think the comments are harsh because he's a kid. I think there's things, he needs to, grow up a little bit, because you're at Manchester United and you've got to try and ignore what the outside is saying and focus on yourself and put your head down. But he's not an issue. He's a young player who's on a journey that's going to make mistakes. He's not an issue. It's early days. I think, and a lot of people agreeing with Paul Parker said he's hit the nail on the head, but I don't know. I think that's a bit harsh. I think it's a bit harsh on Garnacho. Let's talk about the other transfer stories. Francisco Trincao is an option for United this summer, said Chris Wheeler, and Trincao interest is genuine. He's liked, but anything else is premature at this stage. Deal also believed not to be expensive if we do pursue one. So I did a video yesterday, and we spoke about Trincao. There's a lot of rumours about Trincao. We've now got 2 more sources confirming interest in Trincao today. Definitely one to watch. He's obviously had a really good international break, which is one of the reasons we're probably linked to him more, because journalists need something to write about, and they'll exaggerate the interest. But Nad's very good, and he said, look, he's one to watch, but nothing big yet. but Trincao could definitely be one to watch. We've also been linked to Lookman. United are working to win the race for Ademola Lookman this summer. Atalanta want 50 million to let him go. I think 50 million isn't a bad price. I like Lookman, so maybe it's one to watch for, but I feel like he's never really been strongly linked to us. We also got talks that Ahmad has made positive progress in his rehab work in the last 2 weeks. He's been doing a lot of strength and rehab work, and United are aiming for him to be in grass within the next month. Get in. Boom. That was an update coming in from Sully Says. And then we've also been told that Lyon's Malik Fofana has suffered a knee injury and will miss the first leg against United in the Europa League quarterfinals, which is a blow for Lyon. And we've got basically everybody coming back to the squad. So that is your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. I'm just going to make sure no news has come out while recording this video. Not that I can see that is interesting. Let me know your thoughts down below. Bye.